Welcome back to the Cosasverdes show. Today we're going to start off with the short-term time frames on Bitcoin. As you can see over on this side, previous double support has now flipped to double resistance, and the resistance bubble, as I'm pointing to right here, has gotten a little bigger, a little stronger. It was previously flipped the other way, similar to this guy here, which is currently support, and I'm going to connect that to what's happening on SPX. I personally feel that this bear market rally, if I can loosely define it as that, has gotten to a near max out point with the possibility of one more spike up, maybe a spike up plus a fake out on Wednesday. This week could be tricky, so I'm going to connect the dots between these charts in addition to the time axis on what's going to happen on Wednesday with high economic impact data, which will make the stock market and Bitcoin act really funky both in the morning and the early afternoon. I'll show you what that is and what to expect. Let's go get this Bitcoin. On the black side of my chart over here, SPX has hit what I personally consider a max out point for this. And you can see here that Bitcoin did not rally up during this portion right here, which for me is concerning, because if Bitcoin actually went down from here to as the stock market went up, well, what's going to happen to Bitcoin as this corrects down to the monthly 10 and or the daily 10 and or all this support? You have all this, you have an insane amount of activity down here that price needs to touch as it's overextended, and the daily 89 is way down here. And as we covered in my previous video, the SPX and NASDAQ, when they go over that daily 89, which is purple, which you can't see behind, you can sort of kind of see it behind this fancy new thing I got here. It's a new toy. I don't know if I like it yet, but whatever. This purple line down here, daily 89, that you can throw on your chart. It needs to bounce there. It has a 100% hit rate in the stock market since I looked back, I think through the 70s in bear market rallies, if they continue. So I strongly think that this line down here will be hit on SPX, which will create a big pullback. But connecting these dots with SPX, Bitcoin was already weak during this last push up. So what's going to happen to Bitcoin if Bitcoin's going to be even weaker as this falls? That could be a really, really nasty pullback, or maybe Bitcoin can then start outperforming the market by going sideways as this goes down, but I don't know if that's a safe bet. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over on Bitcoin and take a look on how that could relate to the SPX specifically. And again, stay tuned to the end of the video, because I'm going to show you how Wednesday and the meat of this week, the middle of it, is going to get really, really funky. So let's dive specifically into the Bitcoin small time frames. Here we go. All right. These are my Cosa ribbons, which I have set up. I typically don't have these on for videos, but they're my 15-minute long ribbons. And the gray line, which is not technically the weekly 10 EMA, but it is aligning with the weekly 10 EMA almost perfectly. And the blue line, mathematically, technically is the daily 10, no matter where and when things are. So these two were, or this origin line, which is blue, which goes back 12 years in history. So it's a big, strong line. It's not just any straight line. It is an origin line, which is essentially the strongest of the strong outside of the master origin lines of Bitcoin. And so this was support, and this gray line, weekly 10, was support. And now Bitcoin had a fake out above, hit the exact top of the channel. And no, I did not move my channel line. You could have watched this live, as all weekend I had this chart running live, and it hit it. So you could just go back and tell I didn't move it from there. So it hit the top of the channel line absolutely perfectly. I mean, almost to the dollar. And then it flipped the origin line and the weekly 10 to resistance. And because of that, this bubble here, it was oriented like this one to show it's as support. So if one of these bubbles is like this, that's support, like you get a bounce. If a bubble is upside down like this one and this one and this one, that means resistance. Does that make sense? And so if you're watching my live charts, that's kind of how you see that. So because it flipped to double support, I mean, this is going to be pretty hard to get over. And if you see at nighttime a spike up to 24.6, like 24.5 to 20, somewhere around that point, it's probably going to come back down if that happens overnight. I would be extremely surprised if over tonight, Monday night, and before Tuesday at 9:30 a.m. if Bitcoin can hit 24.8. I would be actually kind of shocked. But I would expect some type of liquidity grab to grab all this so essentially algo saying, okay, yep, that is resistance. Let's chill down here, form a support before we then try to bust above this line. So I think this is going to be pretty heavy resistance. That's going to require some type of scoop down here at the 23.6 level. I think we're going to have a scoop play, something to this effect before it can then comfortably get above this origin line. However, before all that scoop play happens down at 23.6 or lower, as I was saying on SPX, remember? Because SPX is getting ready to drop. It's going to correct most likely this week. I'm not saying tomorrow at market open. Could have one more spike up. But as SPX corrects, I mean, this might not hold up. And if that happens tomorrow, you could even go farther below 23K. But anyway, but short-term price action overnight to get you through, Tuesday, this origin line, which is coming in around 24.5, that's going to be very, very heavy resistance. And it's slowly ascending. So throughout the week, I mean, it'll be, through the end of the week, it'll be about 24.6. So it's very slowly ascending, but you can essentially if you don't have this origin line drawn on your chart, you can pretty much just put a box 24.5 to 24.6. That is going to be tough to get over. And if price can get above that, then you're probably going to go straight up to 25.3. That's your next pit stop, major pit stop. So if 24.5, if price can get above and use it as support, then you're going straight up. $800 is your next move. It won't go straight up necessarily, but you might hang out here for half a day and then go up, but that would be your next pit stop. So this is how, so I've essentially given you the middle zone of what to look out for. All right. The daily 10 EMA, actually, I forgot this part. So the middle zone is this origin line between 24.5 and the daily 10. That's your middle zone. Break below here, well, you're kind of looking for trouble, but you could bounce at 23.6. Maybe bounce at 23.6 if the daily 10 is broken. So that I'm covering the middle portion of this now, right? And that's what's going to create volatility, all right? And if you get above 24.5, then your next pit stop is up here at 25.3, all right? And however, because SPX is correcting, this could get a little nasty, all right? Let me zoom out. So if on SPX's way down to the daily 89, or it'll probably bounce off the daily 10 first, Bitcoin is probably going to hit this bottom line down here or the top line, potentially try the origin line. And if SPX makes a lower high, which I assume it would, and then heads back down even lower to the daily 10, I mean, Bitcoin could come all the way down to 21.4. over the next 10 days. So here's the shelf life on what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about tomorrow. I'm not talking short now. Cosa said, oh, I'm taking profit at 21. No, over the next 10 days. All right. And I haven't covered what's going to happen in the middle of this week. All right. So now I started with the short-term time frames. I'm going over mid-short-term time frames now. And what I'm going to do next is show you what I think could happen on Wednesday, which is highlighted by these vertical lines behind me, the time axis. The first one is 8:30 a.m. on Wednesday, and the second one is 2 p.m. New York time on Wednesday. And it's gonna be a weird day. But you could click this link up here if you want to see how the fake outs typically happen on stock market and Bitcoin, because Bitcoin literally just moves right with it when they're having those algo trick plays. It does the same exact thing to the 1 minute candle. I mean, almost every single time. If it's specifically a high volatility trick play during the release of high impact data. So go ahead and click that link that I just showed you there. I go into how that would all work. All right, let me zoom in on this. So with these levels that I've just given you, so I gave you the middle zone, top zone, and sort of bottom zone. The bottom zone actually could fall out. Can't see. the bottom zone, so you have the middle zone here, daily 10 and the origin line, top zone 25.3, sort of the bottom zone at 23 even, so 23K even, 25.2 up top, all right, with the caution that as SPX corrects, this could easily break. So I think there's more potential for downside than upside, but what would change my mind is if Bitcoin could put a decent amount of time in on this origin line and close this week. So I don't see strong upside this week, and I don't see Bitcoin going above 25.2 this week because it has to close the week on Sunday above this on spot and on because spot closed below the weekly 10. So see, the weekly 10 is below that origin line. Spot or CME is closed below the weekly 10. So this week would have to close above before there's permission to then go above 25.2. Is that making sense? The weekly candles truly matter. So I'm giving you like the scope and the general range of this week. I think there's a larger potential range down on a percentage basis than there is this week percentage basis up. Easily, it's possible that Bitcoin could spend the whole week doing this, spikes up and goes like this and ends the week, later on above the origin line. Yes, but I think the limit to that range is somewhere, under 26K because this is an ascending line throughout the week. Later in the week, who knows how high would it be? It would only be 25.5. So actually 25, not 26. 25.5. I think that's essentially the limit of the scope of what Bitcoin can do to the upside the entire week. And if you see price go above this line, above 25.6, it's very, very likely a fake out, and it's going to come back down. It might not crash down. It might just come back down to consolidate until the markets open the next week and then spike up. But I think this in general is the limit, which is why this resistance bubble is up here. Am I making sense on the scope of the range of what Bitcoin can do this week? I hope I'm describing this clearly. All right. Now, if you see SPX starting to roll under its daily 10, so if you go to SPX, I strongly suggest you use the daily 10 EMA. Let me get these darn ribbons off here. The daily 10 EMA, all right? So it's going to have a descent down to it. It needs to touch it. So over time, over the next 10 days, so again, the shelf life of this is 10 days, right? As this happens, if Bitcoin continues underperforming the market, Bitcoin's going to go down faster and farther than SPX, which means the lower end of the range I was giving you, which on Bitcoin was about 23K, that's going to break, and Bitcoin is instead going to use 21.4 as that bubble of support. So let's go back. So this is the descent down to this whenever it begins, which it could start on Thursday. So the timing of this, you might have this, Tuesday goes like here, and then Wednesday goes boom, boom, and then Thursday, Friday, then it starts heading down and doesn't get there until Monday, Tuesday of the next week. So so Wednesday could be pretty tricky, but so this is a 10-day thing, and this descent is going to be key because I cannot tell how low I should consider the range, but those are the two levels. During that descent, I would be focusing on roughly 23K even, and then 21, what was it, about 21.4? No, 21.3. And I would not be surprised, and that's the bottom. And if I zoom out, you can see that is the chart is a little sloppy, I'm sorry, but you can see that this is the bottom of the range. Over the next 10 days, I would absolutely not be surprised if that were hit. Capiche? All right. Now, Wednesday. Going into Wednesday, even though I cover things a lot clearer and more in depth in that video that I linked you to, you might want to make two vertical lines. One, whatever 8:30 a.m. and 2 p.m. are for you, because honestly, not trading during these times is probably going to be a moneymaker for you. Money you don't lose is money you make. I strongly suggest you don't try to piss around. And if you do try to piss around, I would do 1/4 size entries. Yeah, don't go big during this time, I'm telling you. So again, the trick plays, typically you could have two of them, or it could be a monstrous, it could be a compounded single trick play where you either float up overnight, go down with news, and then go back to the middle, and then what happens afterward is a question mark. Or you do the inverse of that, is you float down, you potentially spike up with FOMC news, then go to the middle, and then what happens afterward after market close is a question mark. So it's either this shape or this shape. All right. Oh, no, I didn't do that right. So hold on. There you go. I'm being retarded here. My brain is absolutely not working. Let me do it within the scope of this. Actually, I have it right here. There you go. It could float down, spike up, and then go to the middle, or it could float up, spike down, then go to the middle. There you go. I don't know why I was having a brain fart, but I definitely was right there. I got disoriented for some reason within the damn chart. So watch out for that. And if price, so here's what might be even more important during this this shaded time here. Okay, it's several hours, right? And it's the meat of the day. It's from 8:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. And the weirdness can happen, and probably happen until market close, actually a little out here, is if you see Bitcoin flirting during this time, either with this line here or this line here, I would assume it's a fake out. I bet it won't get continuation, because both of those cases, whether it goes up, down, or down, up, both of them go back to the middle in the trick play, right? So if they both go back to the middle in the trick play, that's why I think if price navigates across this upper line around 25.2, or if it goes below 23.2, I think that would be your spike in one way, then it goes back to the middle, or spike up, then it goes back to the middle. Am I making sense there? That's how I would defend from that. And I could have to update that level, because if Bitcoin is already at 23.2 before Wednesday, then we could be dealing more with, if you go below this line down here at 21.4, if you go below, well, you're going to come back up, or if you go above this line, then you're going to go back to whatever the middle is at that time, if price before Wednesday is floating down. So wherever price is roughly on Tuesday evening, something to that effect, that would be your middle zone, and you can essentially take a 5 to 10%. I would just make it 8%. Make it 8% box. So let's say Tuesday evening, price ends here, right? And you could just take roughly an 8% box, let's call it 9, whatever, and just say, hey, tomorrow the play will be, probably closer to 10%. The play is going to be between here. Something to this effect is going to happen. It could be up to 10% play from wick low to wick high within the trick shots that the whales are doing, because a lot of these whale algos, they create volatility just for the sake of volatility, right? It's like their playground. Especially when Jerome Powell's speaking, that's extra chance for them to make money, because they can influence the market on spot, already knowing which direction they're going to try to influence it, and already have their futures orders waiting for it to go up there for a trick play up. Oh yes, we grabbed all these short limit sells, and then take it back to the middle and make tens of millions of dollars, or however much they're making when they're essentially running price into their futures orders by essentially influencing spot with Jerome Powell's statements. Am I making sense? So watch out for those trick plays on Wednesdays. You do want to trade with the whales. You do want to anticipate if they start out this direction, it can go back to the median. And more specifically, where is my middle point? Where is my 10% range? And what lines are on the extremities? Because if I see price go above 1, that's probably a trick shot. I can probably sell into that rally, or not financial advice. For me personally, not for you, I'm not making suggestions. I could short that line if it's at the extremity of the 10% range, and then expect it to come back to the middle and take my profits once it's in the middle, because once the day ends, it is a big question mark on where it's going to go. So that's where you want to close, take profits, right? And maybe only take half profits, walk your stops down, something to that effect, because you don't know where it's going to go. So that is how I'm seeing price play out this week. It's going to be pretty strange, but I think at the end of the week, no matter what's happening, I believe, and this might be one of the major key points of this video here, is no matter what happens, I do expect that the origin line and the weekly 10, this middle zone, so the middle is now, at the end of the week by Friday, I bet price is close to here once again, because CMEs need to prove themselves above here. Could it get a big fat green CME candle way above on the weekly? Maybe, but probably not. And if it does this on Thursday, the week will close back closer to the weekly 10, just above it. Kind of like how perhaps my Trias fan viewers, they saw me mention some of those weekly candle closures, and it worked out perfectly like 3 times in a row where it went too high, and I said, no, it has to close lower, and it did. So I fully expect, even though Tuesday, the middle of the range might be down here, but for the entire week, do not lose sight that this is the weekly 10. The weekly 10 EMA and this origin line are right around 24.5. So this is going to be a key level during the end of the week. The middle of the week, the middle zone could be a little lower, could be a little higher, but by the end, I would expect price this week closes around 24,500, and any strong deviation away from there, either to the downside or the upside, I would say that it comes back to the middle by Friday. And so keep that as your as your base or something like that, like base thought. The week is probably going to close somewhere to 24.5. Any deviation outside of that is probably going to snap. It's like a rubber band. If you stretch a rubber band and just let go like near the end of the week, boom, where does it go? Back to the middle. And that's probably what price is going to do. Hopefully all my visuals weren't so scatterbrained today. I hope you enjoyed it. So click this video right here. If you want to learn how to set up a chart like mine, it'll help you have a more profitable crypto journey, and click this video right here. If you didn't check out that link, I show you the whale trick plays during the high impact economic data where volatility is created, and you just got Tim of Ad worldwide. Peace.